Good Tuesday morning, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Tuesday Talks. It is so good to see all of you, to be back in the office. Had a wonderful week at Camp Wetoga. We had a great time. It was amazing. The kids were great, but it is good to be back in the office where the air conditioning is working and out of the elements. It was hot last week, and we experienced the same heat that many of you did in our community and really honestly around the world. Everybody's dealing with this heat wave, and I know we have more coming, so please be safe with that. But one thing that we did at camp to try to combat the heat was have some extra time where they could calm down from doing all the different activities to get extra water in them. In fact, there were times where that's all I wanted. I didn't want a snack. I didn't want anything else. I just wanted water to help keep me cool and rehydrate me during all of this heat that was going on. And so, of course, I go jump in and I want to study, some things about water and things. And did you realize that your body is made up of 60% water? And there are about 5 main areas that the water goes to: your brain, your heart, liver, kidneys. It's in your blood. And so these are the main things. And so that is why your body needs this. In fact, the earth, it's 71% made up of water. And so you can kind of see how God's great plan designed water to be so important and why your body needs it to function. Now, when I was younger, I didn't care that much about drinking water. As I'm getting older, I'm like, okay, I need to drink water. I got to stay healthy. And that reminded me of the story of John chapter 4, the woman at the well. And Jesus, we spent a lot of time at that conversation, but the conversation that really takes place is when he begins interacting with her and he asks her for a drink of water. And they had this conversation back and forth, and he finally says, if you knew who it was that was asking you for a cup of water, you would ask them for living water, because this water will make you thirsty again, but living water will quench that thirst. And that really, it took on a new perspective maybe last week after the heat and dealing with some of these things of things that we want, things that we desire versus things that we need, that we long for, that is something that we need to function and something that we need to live. And as I've gotten older, I've realized that, my wants and my desires have changed over the years. I guess when we're younger, we want the job, we want the family, we want the car, our house has to be a certain way, and we want to accomplish all of these things. But as we get older, we recognize that some of that stuff's not important. And kind of what we even mentioned on Sunday here, Philippians chapter 4 and verse 11, where Paul says, in all things, no matter where I'm at, I've learned to be content. When I have a lot, I'm content. When I don't have a lot, I'm content. And going back to that John 4 passage of this living water that all of our souls cry and long for. And just like I was thirsting for that water, we need to have that same thirst for God's living water. The living water that comes through Jesus Christ. When he says in John chapter 14 that he is that way, he is that truth, he is that life. No man can come to the Father except through him. We long for that. We long for something more, because these things on earth, they're temporal. They're just here. The old adages, he who dies with the most toys still dies, or you can't take it with you, those type of things. And we need to be striving each day for that living water, for the water that can ultimately quench the thirst that we're longing for. And there's things that are missing in us that only God can fulfill. Because when we come to the end of our life, that's the only thing that's going to matter. It's not going to be the 100-degree temperatures. It's not going to be what house you're living in. It's not going to be what car you're driving or anything like that. But God, your relationship with Jesus Christ. So this week, and I know it's going to be hot, and I encourage you to drink the H2O that we have. But just like you have that thirst to try to keep you hydrated during these hot months especially, even more is that desire to have our thirst quenched by God. The living water that only comes through Jesus Christ. I think that's why one of the reasons he uses baptism and talks about how that's that connecting relationship between baptism and becoming contacted with Christ through water. It's that important. And I want to encourage you to open up your Bibles today and look for that living water. The messages that only God can settle within your heart. Those questions that you're building that only He can answer. The missing pieces that only He can fill. Because that is our desire. That is what we long for, to be with Him for all eternity. This stuff doesn't really matter. What matters is that living water that comes from Him. I encourage you to look for Him today. If you're searching, you got questions, contact us here at the Calhoun Church of Christ. Love to sit and talk to you about it. And maybe you're sitting out there and, some of this stuff has gotten kind of crazy and you've kind of gotten off track and off focus. Search again for that. Have that desire, that thirst for Him that only He can quench. I hope you have a fabulous week. Stay cool, stay hydrated, but ultimately stay hydrated for the Lord, searching for Him. Hope you have a wonderful day. We will see you next week on Tuesday Talks.